Today, we're diving into one of the biggest stories rocking East Africa right now. A CNN documentary, reported by renowned journalist Larry Madowo, has sent shockwaves across Tanzania. It stirred up a huge political debate and triggered a very emotional response from supporters of President Samia Suluhu Hassan. Some are calling it bold journalism. Others are calling it an unfair attack. But many say it's finally brought to light what people have been whispering about for years. No matter which side you're on, one thing is crystal clear. This documentary has kicked off a national conversation that simply cannot be ignored. So, what's all the fuss about? The CNN piece took a hard look at some of the most significant challenges facing Tanzania today. It covered everything from economic development and political pressure to government accountability and how it handles criticism. Larry Madowo didn't pull any punches or sugarcoat the issues. He asked the tough questions, highlighted uncomfortable truths, and showed stories that the global audience rarely gets to see. That alone was enough to get people talking. But it was the intensity of the reactions that really blew this story up. Government supporters felt the documentary painted Tanzania in a negative light, arguing that it completely ignored the progress made and focused only on the problems. On the other hand, critics praised it, saying it was necessary because it exposed the realities on the ground that local media often uncovered due to fear of backlash. What we have here is a classic clash of two powerful forces, a journalist pushing for transparency and a government trying to protect its national image. Now, let's talk about the reaction from Tanzania's leadership. Sources close to the government say President Samia Suluhu is not happy. Not necessarily because the documentary aired, but because of how it shapes the international perception of her leadership. Her administration has been working hard to repair Tanzania's global reputation, which took a hit during the previous era known for its secrecy and censorship. President Samia has been positioning herself as a reformer, someone opening Tanzania up to the world, inviting investment, and building global partnerships. So, when a major CNN documentary comes out highlighting issues like limited freedoms and economic struggles, it directly challenges the positive image she's been trying to build. And let's not forget, Larry Madowo is one of Africa's most respected journalists. His voice carries serious weight. When he reports on something, people listen. They don't just dismiss it. That's why this documentary hit so much harder than a standard news report. It felt personal to many. Let's break down the key points that turned this report into a full-blown storm. First, governance and accountability. The documentary questioned just how transparent the government really is, especially when it comes to dealing with criticism. It asked whether institutions are truly independent and if tough questions are welcomed or shut down. Second, the economic challenges. It highlighted the real struggles that ordinary citizens are facing every day: rising costs, unemployment, and a lack of opportunities. The documentary didn't shy away from showing this tough reality. Third, and perhaps the most sensitive part, was political pressure. Through interviews and visuals, it suggested that the political space in Tanzania is still very tight. For a government that claims to be reforming, this was a very uncomfortable accusation to have aired on a global stage. And finally, it explored the gap between public perception and reality. A major theme was the difference between official government statements and the lived experiences of the people. Many viewers commented that the documentary finally showed what they actually feel on the ground. Now, none of these points are entirely new. People in Tanzania have been discussing them for years. What made the difference this time is that the whole world was watching. And whenever a major international media house releases a critical report about an African government, the reaction itself often becomes a bigger story than the original content. Tanzania is a rising power in East Africa. It has vast natural resources, booming cities, and huge strategic importance. What happens in Tanzania impacts the entire region. So when the leadership reacts with emotion instead of with facts and clarity, it sends the wrong message. If the government truly believes the documentary is unfair, the professional move would be to respond with evidence, open data, and transparent communication. Getting angry just raises more questions. Let's be real for a second. Larry Madowo is not a journalist who shies away from controversy. He's challenged governments across the continent and has a track record of covering uncomfortable truths. This documentary only strengthens his brand as a journalist who pushes boundaries, even when the topics are politically explosive. People might disagree with him, but they can't ignore him. That's the sign of a powerful journalist. The intense reaction to this documentary now gives President Samia two clear paths forward. Path 1 is confrontation. She could continue to push back, call the report biased, and try to control the narrative. This might work for a little while, but it risks damaging Tanzania's reputation with foreign investors, international agencies, and the global media. Path 2 is engagement. She could choose to address the issues raised head-on. She could demonstrate openness, respond with hard data, and show the world that Tanzania is confident enough to be questioned. This approach would actually strengthen her leadership and build global trust. The world respects leaders who respond to criticism with maturity, not defensiveness. Social media absolutely exploded after the documentary was released. Some Tanzanians praised Larry for giving a voice to their problems. Others accused him of trying to drag the country's name through the mud. But underneath all that noise, one thing became incredibly obvious. People want answers, they want progress, and they want honesty from their leaders. Whether you agree with the documentary or not, it has forced an entire nation to pay attention. This story is far from over. CNN will continue to cover African leadership. Larry Madowo will continue to report boldly. The Tanzanian people will continue to demand accountability. And now, President Samia Suluhu faces a critical decision. Will she respond with strength or with frustration? Whichever path she chooses will undoubtedly shape Tanzania's political climate for years to come. At the end of the day, documentaries don't destroy countries. They expose problems so that countries can fix them and become better. Strong nations don't fear criticism. They use it as fuel to grow. Tanzania has enormous potential. The real question now is whether its leadership will use this moment wisely. Thanks for watching. If you found this breakdown helpful, don't forget to hit that like button, drop a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us keep growing and bring you more stories that matter. See you in the next one.